In our first segment, many people believe our world confronts numerous challenges, tragedies, inequalities and injustices, many of which are tied to corruption. With 1.9 billion young people in the world fighting corruption, it's vital for the future of nearly a quarter of the global population. The campaign for International Anti-Corruption Day focuses on the role young guardians of integrity play as advocates, raising awareness about corruption and its impacts on their communities. Today, Sierra Leone joins the rest of the world to commemorate Anti-Corruption Day on the theme Uniting with Youth Against Corruption, Shaping Tomorrow's Integrity. So this morning, to discuss the Anti-Corruption Day and the fight against corruption in Sierra Leone, we are expecting Patrick Sandy, Director of Education and Outreach from the ACC, to join the conversation, but we now have Edward Bankolo Kooma Jr., Acting Executive Director, Transparency International, Sierra Leone. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Fabian. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Good morning, Edward.
Good morning.
Anti-Corruption Day again, you know, another day, another year, and we're here having this conversation. But the striking thing this year is the theme itself, making it a youth-centered, kind of like zooming the lens on youths, particularly young people. How important is this for Sierra Leone's context?
Thank you very much, Fabian. Like you said, today the globe is observing the International Anti-Corruption Day. And this is something that we've been observing year in, year out. And we've been having different themes each and every year. And for this particular year, the focus is on the youth, right? Looking at integrity and looking at working with the youth in terms of shaping, you know, the fight against corruption in the future and building on integrity. Sometimes I would say, in terms of fighting corruption, we are like the lost generation, because day in, day out, you hear about issues of corruption. And so we need to look at the future generation as a hope in terms of succeeding in eradicating corruption in Sierra Leone. Because the young people, they have the strength, they have the zest, they have the youthful exuberance to ensure that they take the lead in the fight against corruption. Because normally there's the saying that catch them when they are young, you know, so that when they go old, you know, they will not run away from you. So if we build on integrity in the youth, we make sure that we bring the youth fully on board, because we have a very youthful population in Sierra Leone. And so I'm building integrity in the youth for them to know about corruption, the impact of corruption, and empower them, you know, to take part, to be part in the fight against corruption. Then we will be making gains in terms of fighting corruption, and also we will be banking on future success in terms of fighting corruption. So Sierra Leone, this is also very much important for us, because we have a very youthful population, and so if we are to succeed in terms of fighting corruption going forward, we must fully bring on board the youth in terms of fighting corruption.
How will that work when we seem to be gradually nurturing a young population of lazy people who are constantly looking out for smart ways to bypass the system or to get a shortcut in life, whether it's by they themselves being very willing to participate in corrupt practices, like even in schools, universities, just to avoid going the right road of studying and making good grades. They would rather offer money, offer their bodies, or whatever, just to make it out in a very short period of time. A lazy, well, it could be a generalization, but we have a bunch of young people who are lazy and want a shortcut in life. Corruption is very attractive to such people who don't want to go through the right road, who just want to make it out through the easy road.
Yes, you're very correct, Fabian, because this is the system that these young people we are born into. They grew up in this system, you know, so they also are following on what they were born into and what they grew up into as a people in this country. So, talking about working with the youth, we know that there are a lot of youth, like you said, that are lazy, you know, that bypass the system to get things easily done, you know. But integrity is very, very key. So in as much as some of the youths, you know, are engaged in this one, but all is not lost. That is what we are saying. These are young people. These are people that are still growing up. And these are people that we can work with. We can engage them. We can deconstruct their minds, you know, and get them to focus on doing the right thing with integrity. Because in all of this, integrity is very, very key. And if you imbibe, you know, the culture of integrity, then you will know that you should not offer your body, you know, for grades. You must work hard if you want to move from this class to the other class. But because of what we are having around us, so some of the youth, you know, go into this kind of ways in terms of getting things easily. But we need to deconstruct their mind, reorientate them, for them to understand that if we are to succeed in terms of fighting corruption in the future, and they are the future, we need to ensure that we transform, you know, their minds, you know, work with integrity, stand for the right thing. That is the more reason why we need to catch them when they are young.
And we use the word integrity quite a lot. Break it down. When you say integrity, what does it mean? And why is it important for an individual to show integrity?
Yeah, integrity is very, very key in everything that you do. When we talk about integrity, that is, you know, the innate ability that you have. Is a virtue that you have inside you to tell you that this thing is wrong, this thing is right, and you must go for the right thing. So if you are in your office, you know, as a public official, for instance, and then you are working with figures, and then you have like 1, you know, then something is telling you that you should add 0 to the 1 for it to become 10. So at the end of the day, the 9 goes to your pocket and the 1 is still there. But in that room, you do not have the Anti-Corruption Commission there. You know, you do not have the police there. You do not have anybody to tell you that this is wrong. But what tells you that this is wrong is what you have inside you. The integrity that you have that will tell you that you must always stand for the right thing. So you would know that you should not change the 1 to 10. Because if you change 1 to 10, it is wrong, and it is tantamount to corruption. So integrity is all that controls the mind to do the right thing and not to engage or involve in something that is wrong.
As a nation, Edward, have we mustering the required courage to fight corruption?
Well, as a nation, I want to say that we've made a lot of strides in terms of fighting corruption. That is something, you know, that we should accept, and we should tap our backs for. Because when we started this fight before 2000, and then we have the Anti-Corruption Commission in 2000, we have the Act and all of that, we've come a very long way, you know, in terms of fighting corruption. But we do know, you know, that corruption is something that has been there since Adam was a boy. And so it's not something that you could change overnight. It has to do with the mind of people. It has to do with perception, and changing perception, changing the thinking of people takes time. But we are moving in the right direction in terms of fighting corruption. But yet still, as a nation and as a people, we need to do more in terms of fighting corruption. Everybody should come on board to ensure that we make meaningful impact in the fight against corruption. When we talk about fighting corruption, you have 3 key things, you know, that comes to play. Usually, we talk about the political will, which is one that is very, very key, because you need to have the required political will for us to make positive and tangible strides
So
in terms of fighting corruption.
Have we the political will?
But again, yeah, to a very large extent, we have political will. But normally in Sierra Leone, when you talk about political will, people mostly limit that one to the president or to the presidency. Yeah? Say the president has done X, Y, and Z, so there is the political will. Yes, there is political will to the extent because the president is the fountain of honor and we look up to him in terms of ensuring, that we maintain integrity, in terms of ensuring that we fight corruption in a positive way that will benefit Sierra Leoneans. But political will goes beyond the president or the presidency, right? It also encompasses all political appointees, like ministers and all of that. Even parliamentarians fall within, that political will. So each and every minister, each and every politically appointed person, members of parliament, they all fall within that bracket of ensuring proper political will. Because the president could accede his signature to a law against corruption, for example, and then who roll out this law? You have the ministers, you have the permanent secretaries, all of these people, members of parliament. So they also should be in tune, with ensuring proper political will. And once everybody comes on board, the president sincerely and honestly, take the lead in terms of ensuring proper political will in the fight against corruption. Having all of those once again coming on board, then we will be making a meaningful progress in the area of political will. Then there's the second level of that, and that one is the institutional will. Institutional will is how are these institutions placed themselves in terms of fighting corruption. For example, the National Anti-Corruption Strategy says that MDAs should have what they call integrity management committees in place. They are supposed to manage issues of integrity, anti-corruption within their MDAs. So how many MDAs do have integrity committees, effective integrity committees? Because you could have the integrity committees, are they working? Are you allowing them as minister, as deputy minister, as permanent secretary, giving them, the leverage that they need, creating the enabling atmosphere for them to do their work? So institutions also must be ready to fight corruption, implementing the laws, implementing policies effectively. Then the third layer is the people's will. Because if you have the political will, you have the institutional will, and then the people are not willing and ready in terms of fighting corruption, will not be able to get where we want to get in terms of fighting corruption. Because the people are also very, very key in terms of fighting corruption. We should see them standing up and speaking out against corruption, raising the red flag against corruption for institutions, to really take action in this area. So we need all of these three working together effectively if we want to really make tangible and meaningful impact in terms of fighting corruption.
Statistics on a global level and also at a local level seem to be painting a picture as if, yes, much has been done in terms of the fight against corruption. But the practicality on the ground seems contrary to those strides and the commendations that the country seems to have received overseas. With that, I'll share in Alex Eber, who is the public relations assistant public relations person and the Anti-Corruption Commission. It's a pleasure having you this morning, Eber.
Yes, good morning, Samuel. Good morning, viewers.
The Anti-Corruption Commission in Sierra Leone is celebrating this day. Of course, joining other commissions or agencies in the world to celebrate this day. What is actually there to celebrate about, taking into account the premise to your introduction?
Yes, thank you so much. We are commemorating the International Anti-Corruption Day. I would agree with you that corruption as one of the greatest existential threats that we have globally, a vice and a virus that infect and affect all fabrics of society. And it's over the years I've had, huge and devastating impacts countries. So the United Nations, through the Convention Against Corruption, which is the UNCAC, they dedicated this day to commemorate, which is so to resound the importance of countries coming together to fight corruption, the importance of various state and non-state actors, the general citizen, as my brother from TI, of course, was resounding, for everybody to understand that corruption is very bad. Corruption is terrible. Governments across the world, they lose billions of dollars, according to even African Development Bank report. They state that countries in Africa, they lost per annum about $10,000, going into the coffers, from government coffers, going into the pockets of ordinary citizens. About $10 million, I would say. So these are all the impacts and the negative implications that directly affects the ordinary citizens, because provision of, important services, pipe-borne water, provision of healthcare facilities, provision of education, and all of these things, the impact of corruption, is felt on them. It is weighed on them. So we join countries across the world as a commission to resound the urgent need for us to come together to fight corruption, which is to save, of course, our collective destinies as a country.
Listening keenly to the anti-corruption commissioner whilst presenting the 2023 reports, corruption reports to the president, seen a lot of things, but with the kind of efforts that has been put in place, by the country in its fight against corruption, and having an anti-corruption commission that do say they were able to successfully prosecute 4 cases out of over 200 that they were investigating, sends a kind of naive picture about what are we actually fighting inside UNEPA. Is that a plus on the side of the anti-corruption commission?
No, we did not prosecute, as you probably reference also that the commissioner said, 4 cases. But what we are able to do, every year we inform, of course, the public through our press releases of the strides that we make with respect to our general work. And a huge part of our work is on investigating and prosecuting. We have hundreds of matters that we investigate. And out of those matters that we investigate, some of those matters, we, based on the outcome of it, would see whether it calls for systems review, it calls for, out of court or non-conviction recovery model, which has been very, very effective, and other countries have been coming to learn from the success we've had using that model. But most importantly also is matters that it meets prosecutorial threshold for us to charge these matters to court. But within these years, over the years, the reports, it would speak to all of these different areas, but most importantly, as you referenced particularly, it also speaks to the number of convictions. I'm sure that is what you're referring to. Sure. The number of convictions that we were able to get in matters that we charge to courts. So that is why, and that is the reason why we have been paying premium on using the non-conviction recovery model. Because as we speak, we have about 36 or so cases that are in court, that they've been there for a couple of years, some couple of months, and we understand that there are some challenges, understandably so, with the judiciary and all, and we have about 11 or so cases that we've been waiting for just judgment to be handed down. So that is why we have...
Is it inclusive of the Samoa Kamara and others matter? The Chansey matter?
All of those matters form broadly part of the matters that we charge to courts, and part of the 36 or so matters that are in court. But like I stated...
is it amongst the 11 waiting judgment?
No, we have not reached that point yet. We have each part of the matters that are part of the 36 or so matters in court, that they have been there and we're still working. The judiciary have been, of course, a critical player in the fight against corruption, in ensuring that we're able to expedite the trial of these matters. But as much as we're poised to have our matters tried expeditiously, we understand the constraint that the judiciary, face, even though we have a separate division of the High Court. So, the fight against corruption, the success of it is contingent hugely on what you as an institution can do. So that is why when we went to Parliament, understanding some of these imminent challenges, we decided that we needed Section 89 that we factored in to provide the amplitude, the powers to look at certain matters and decide for quick win, quick fix. That is, for example, even the one that had to do with the bank recently. We decided that if we have chances of getting the monies in full, we get the monies with the ensuing implications or penalties, and we return the money to the state. Instead of, having some matters that we have a chance, we have a way to get the money and send them to court. And some cases, over time, over the years, I would say, they have been adjourned, endlessly. And there are times again, even, for example, we had a matter with NASIT. Before we even had a judgment handed down, the first accused passed away. So the state has lost twice. The money that was misappropriated, that was embezzled, and all we expended in the court processes.
Alex, let's zoom the lens on political appointees. What's the data or statistic you have on that, especially political appointees over the last 6 years and corruption? What are the high-profile cases there?
What I would say, Fabian, is that for us at the ACC, we do not have a way in which we segment cases, that is to speak to high-profile or not. We look at the substance of, cases, the outcome of investigation.
Alex,
yes.
Let's not play this game. We understand high-profile and what it means. Let's please do our jobs efficiently and diligently for the people of Sierra Leone.
So that is what I'm saying now. I'm leading you through how we do our work, our mode of operation. We do not countenance capacities. We do not countenance individuals.
How many of the presidential appointees over the last 6 years have you had to investigate and found guilty of corruption?
We have investigated, people within this government, broadly speaking, a number of them. Most times we, provide even some of these comprehensive data through spreadsheets for people that you request. Asking questions.
The names and the things they were investigating.
Yeah, asking questions on some of these things, even though matters that we investigate, most often when we, come out to the public, we inform them accordingly what we have done, what is the outcome of the investigation, and all. So, when speaking to your question specifically, we have had a number of these cases, and a huge chunk of even the over 8 billion, I would safely say we've recovered in the past 6 years, that have much emanated from 2018 to this period. So, and we have, of course, investigated and recovered even funds that
I'll ask again,
before
who are
2018.
some of these people and what were they investigated for?
We have a lot of them. We have the case, for example, last year, or the start of this year, that had to do with some staff in the Accountant General's department, the SLRA also, and some of these people that were alleged to have diverted resources meant to pay contractors, and they withdrew it, at the Kamala Community Bank around the same period, and they shared it among themselves. We investigated, we informed the public accordingly of the outcome. We succeeded within the span of just 1 month's time to get the monies in full, and the ensuing penalties that were imposed, we also informed the public accordingly. And matters even that emanate from the audit reports that we have been, of course, taking actions on over time.
Which matters from the audit? report?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them. We had one that, you know, had to do with the Freetown City Council. We had about 180 million that we recovered. We have one that had to do even with Sierra Leone Maritime Association. We're able to make huge, you know, recoveries, and across, you know, different other government agencies as well. We're able to succeed in making recoveries. But what is particular to note here, our work that we do with discountenance individuals, with discountenance where they belong or so, we only focus on the substance, and that directs us in taking action as provided for in the anti-corruption law.
That's a very good premise, Alex.
Yes.
That would lead us straight to what's happening with the investigation into the office of the presidency on the alleged fake receipts that brought about a whole conversation and leading to a whole tribunal in the country.
Beautiful. So we commenced, you know, an investigations, you know, into it, but we had a tribunal, and as per law, when a tribunal is set up, it has a specific function which it has performed, and at the end of its function, it's, you know, there was a report, and the report was published. I'm sure you were privy to this report.
Were you investigating what the tribunal was investigating?
No, we had the matter.
So how did the tribunal affect your investigation?
We had the matter to our attention, but the Constitution provides for the creation of such tribunal, and the commission we feed from the Constitution. So after
Were you investigating, because what the tribunal was investigating was whether or not there was professional misconduct.
Okay.
What you were investigating was the alleged corruption, the fake receipts. So how did the tribunal affect your work when what they were investigating was the procedure?
So that is where I'll come in. Professional misconduct can even amount to corruption as provided for in the law.
But that would be a matter for the former Auditor General and her deputy, not a matter for those who were alleged of manipulating receipts within the office of the presidency.
So it is broad and it's comprehensive, and we cannot...
Broad and comprehensive, but it still does not explain, Alex, why the ACC probably paused, stopped whatever the status of your investigation was on the alleged fake receipts, which is a very big issue.
So if you give me time, Fabian, I'm taking you through, I'm guiding you through to understand the dynamics in this. We do comprehensive investigations. Now, when you know, that issue came out and the tribunal was formed and they did their work as provided for, forming that tribunal, it is a constitutional provision. And after the tribunal, after their report was published, they referenced, in fact, they referred to us matters that they investigated or part of their inquiry that more or less borders around the work that we do as a commission. So in the Anti-Corruption Act, we investigate matters that come to us by way of reports, but also matters that comes to us by way of referral. And such referral was done at the end of the tribunal and when they presented the report. So we informed the public.
Tribunal. I'm still on with you on the investigation you were conducting before the tribunal. Now, the period between when that information was made public to the setting up of the tribunal was quite a significant couple of months. So you wonder, how did the investigation take almost forever now that we're not getting from the ACC on the names of people who were being investigated, which perhaps you could use this opportunity to tell us? You say you started an investigation. Who were you investigating within the office of the president?
We do not, provide, information that is yet to reach our threshold. We are a professional, investigative and intelligence.
As professional as you are, Alex.
I'm coming.
Alex,
I'm coming, Fabian. Please allow me.
As professional as you are, the ACC almost always updates the public on who is being investigated.
And when
even when sometimes you sometimes come back to tell the public it did not meet the threshold to say there was a corruption act. You come back to say, okay, we've made recommendations on review of systems, put systems. But the ACC does give the public information on who is being investigated and for what. So why is this an exception?
Good. So Fabian, we have hundreds of matters that we investigate. And we do not come out in every one of those matters when they are yet to reach the threshold to inform the public. Because when we're investigating,
so how do you make that judgment of who you let the public know you're investigating and who you don't let the public know you're investigating?
We have a threshold that we meet. Now,
but that threshold seems to have a pattern. It seems so that is why I am taking you through. Get the privilege of secrecy and privacy.
Not at all. Like I stated, and I have restated, we do not have cases that we define as high profile. Now, in investigating, working in outfits like the ACC, in this investigative-led outfit, you come and provide premature information, as I would say it, to the public on matter you are investigating. When you are yet to reach certain threshold, in itself, it would have the propensity to compromise, the outcome of the investigation at the end of the end.
Who are you investigating within the office of the presidency for the fake alleged receipts?
And when we that one specifically, we had the tribunal that came immediately or so,
Alex,
or a couple of months after.
It's not the tribunal I'm referring to. I'm asking
no, because the tribunal...
Who is the ACC investigating, or who was the ACC investigating within the office of the presidency? You said you started an investigation before the tribunal. So who were you investigating before the tribunal?
We do comprehensive. We commenced, and then the tribunal was formed.
You commenced, yes, but who were you investigating?
If it doesn't reach a certain threshold, Fabian, we cannot come and say we have started these things. It has the propensity to compromise. But, like I stated, what we must understand here... Did you start an investigation
at all?
What we must understand here, Fabian. Now, after the tribunal report was published, Parliament has the overwhelming function, the overwhelming mandate to probe into the report that was, rightfully so, redirected to them. But we as a commission, at the end of the report, when it was published, the tribunal, when the report was published, we came out to the public through a press release and we informed the public that we have received a copy of the tribunal report and the matters contained therein that was rightfully referred to us. And some of these, yes.
If you can't tell us who you were investigating, what were you investigating?
So that is the point. And some of the matters referred to us contain. No, I'm coming.
Alex, let's
listen.
Alex, most of it. Answer what you're asked.
Listen,
you cannot provide the name of who or people you were investigating. What were you investigating?
So we commenced, but we hadn't reached a certain point when the tribunal was formed. So what I am leading us through is that
what were you investigating?
On issues that covers what is provided for in the anti-corruption law. But we only had a commencement.
No, you probably don't understand what I'm asking you. In the office of the president, you said you started an investigation before the tribunal. What were you investigating? I've asked you who you were investigating, but you cannot provide that answer. So if you cannot even tell us who you were investigating, tell the public, what were you investigating?
Good. So what we were investigating issues that came to our attention that broadly borders around corruption. That is what we were investigating. So when the tribunal was formed and they published their report, we accordingly as well, we came out to the public, we informed them that we have acknowledged the receipt of the report and the issues that are directed to us. And we, as a commission, would spring into action after the Parliament of Sierra Leone that has the fundamental mandate to look into the report, to look at the matters now, like you're asking, matters that borders around our attention or the individuals that are involved. There are lots of issues in the report, issues that borders around, professional misconduct, issues that borders around, corruption, or lots of other things, generally. We read the report, we understood it, and we noted the issues that are referred to us as a commission to look at. And as per what is provided for in the Anti-Corruption Act, we investigate matters that come to us by way of report and matters that are referred to us. And this is one of such. So at this point, At this point, what I would say is that it's just to endear you, and of course, as always, we do, the general public, that we, as a commission, we do not countenance individuals, but we work within the ambit of the law, and after Parliament would have done its work as provided for by law, as we accordingly also inform the public in a press release, would continue our investigations, or would look at the issues referred to us and we investigate, and at the end, we'll come out to the public on the outcome of our investigation and the ensuing actions that we will take based on those outcomes.
The reviewed Anti-Corruption Commission Act of 2019 gave the Commission a lot of powers. But the realities on the ground paint a picture as if the Anti-Corruption Commission is one that is more of an event-driven body that finds pleasure in presenting billions of loans to the public just to see that and they are working, when in actual fact issues of such magnitude as the one that Fabian just painted seem to just stay in the shelves there with with little or no attention being given to it, Alex. That's a question you'll also answer, but I start off with you, Alex.
You noting that we have powers and what is being painted is different. I do not know probably where you are looking at it from, but the glaring picture, the glaring evidences of what we have done over the years. We went to Parliament in 2019 to tighten, to strengthen our anti-corruption law. In Parliament, the 2019 amendment that we made, in fact, fundamentally even provided for us to make such recoveries, as you pointed out, by the provision of Section 89, that gives us the power, not just to go to court, but to also do a non-conviction, where it's a quick win and a quick fix. We get resources that's alleged to have been misappropriated with penalties that ensue. So, the 2019 amendment, one, has provided for such, and it is through those provisions that we have recovered safely.
It seemed more like a party on that day. I saw the commissioner. He was very overwhelmed, excited about what was happening.
It's a good thing that we have people in government service that are excited about winning in the fight against corruption. There is no point in the history of this country when people, they've stolen $1 billion loans and they return it as well.
Are you sure we're winning?
Yeah. These are tangible evidences, Samuel, to show that we're winning. So it's a good thing that the commissioner was very happy that people, they stole about 34 or so billion loans, and the commission was able to make 100% recoveries. Not just recoveries, but we had those people convicted.
Are you sure it was 100% recovery?
100% recoveries.
That was not 100% recovery.
I'm coming. 100% recoveries.
That was not 100%
Samuel,
recovery.
Let me guide you through. Let me guide you through.
Of course, land.
Good. That was 100% recovery. Now, we had the bank. Initially, when we charged the matter to court, it was on 147 count charges. It could have been beyond that, up to 300, but the evidences that we had, we had to let them strong, because in criminal matters, I am sure you understand, the burden of proof is very high. So it was 17 million new loans when we charged to court. But I'm coming. I need to guide us through. But when the bank, they acknowledged and they decided that we are not going to court and they would want to pay, we decided that they are not going to pay the 70 million that we indicted to court. They are going to pay the entire sum that constitutes all of our investigation, the money that we estimated that government lost. They paid every bit of it. Now,
the commission seems to be taking pride in something that was brought to their attention by even the bank.
How did they pay the money, Samuel? I think I need to clear that aspect. Like I said, the 100%. We agreed that they are going to pay the money full, 100% recovery. They paid 15 billion of the said amount.
It's 15 billion, 100% recovery.
Good.
That's why
it's 100% recoveries, and they paid 15 billion of the settlement. It's a settlement agreement. I am sure you understand what borders around this agreement. It's very tight that the commission enters with the bank. They paid 15 billion of the said money, and the rest of the money, we accordingly even inform the public that they are going to pay in 9 months installments starting from January to September. So it's a good thing that the commission was happy in making the maximum recoveries of monies that could have gone unaccounted for. And all of those things, Samuel, are what informs why even Sierra Leone, in all of the international data-driven assessment, we've been performing exceptionally well. Because these things, I tell you, my brother here from TI is here, countries across the world, they are constrained in fighting corruption because asset recovery, recovering stolen funds, it is the most difficult thing in fighting corruption. And we have succeeded in that, and it appears so seamless that we have done all of these things.
And then I was sharing Edward. Earlier on I said, from according to the looks of things, it seemed more like ACC is an events-driven body, taking into account the pointers are just too many. Edward.
Right, thank you very much. Before I come to that, I just want to dwell a little bit on the issue that has to do with the investigation
feel free.
at the office of the president.
Feel free.
Now, initially, I spoke about political will, yeah? That's the president and the presidency. And so, if something came up from audit report that is pointing that there are some discrepancies within the office of the president, I think as part of the political willingness in terms of fighting corruption, because political will goes beyond pronouncements, right? It also encompasses the actions, that you put in place to combat corruption. So I think the free will should have been given, to the Anti-Corruption Commission or whosoever to do the investigation and come out with the findings of the investigation. And the president, who is the fountain of honor, yeah, and the anti-corruption champion, for the country, should have come out with a statement. Yeah, this has happened within the presidency, yeah, my office and all that are working within my office. And we think in terms of ensuring proper transparency and accountability, proper investigation would be done, and those found wanting will be brought to book. I think if that pronouncement would have been made by the head of that presidency, that is the president, it goes a long way, to tell the public that the president is willing and sincere in terms of fighting corruption. But if we see a lot of things happening that are undermining accountability and transparency in terms of fighting corruption, it shows that there are some issues with regards political will in terms of fighting corruption. So political will is not about signing laws. It's not about making pronouncements for people to see that you support the fight against corruption, but the actions that you take, some things that you do shows that you are sincere in terms of fighting corruption. Then also, we talked about the judiciary. Yeah, the judiciary there is also an institution. And we talk about the institutional will in terms of fighting corruption. The institutions should position themselves to ensure that they deliver as expected in terms of fighting corruption. So, having a lot of cases in the courts, we have a special court, yeah? And we are expecting anti-corruption cases to go through as fast as possible. We have some people who we are working at the ACC, who are now judges sitting on some anti-corruption cases, so we are expecting those cases, to go through as fast as possible for us to have judgment, so we will be able to measure, the progress we are making in terms of fighting corruption. But if we are having these delays in the courts, that shows that the judiciary should look at what they are doing and how positioned they are in terms of ensuring that they are fighting corruption. Not to talk about the judgments at the end of the day, because the ACC do have the powers, to investigate and prosecute in court. But at the end of the day, who gives the judgment? It's the judge. And many a times we've been crying in the past that judgments that are given to people found wanting for corruption are not commensurate to the acts that they commit.
Edward,
so that is also...
Edward, I do not take pleasure in interrupting you there, but as you tie that, considering as well our theme, we live in a society where we pass by in our communities, we see thieves being mercilessly dealt with by the public for petty things. Yet, we've also seen the ACC a few years ago, they displayed the teachers at the cotton tree for corruption. But we also see people who are sort of like who have political backing, who are connected to the powers that be. They're either not investigated or are investigated but quietly. They're given the honor of privacy and secrecy, so as perhaps not to be embarrassed. But then what message are we sending to the younger folks? That they pass by, they see thieves who went to snatch a mobile phone, mercilessly beaten. People who snatch things are beaten. But those people, especially those strong politicians who involve in corruption, and corruption is robbing the people off of something that is due them for someone's advantage, they are protected. How then do we encourage the younger folks that corruption is wrong?
Well, I want to look at this from two perspectives. Yeah. Now, people that are found wanting for corrupt practices are investigated by the ACC. That is the formal, and legal way going in terms of fighting corruption. But somebody in the streets, that is a kind of jungle justice. Yeah. That somebody snatches a phone.
Yeah, the point there is, the ACC would investigate and do the recovery.
Yeah.
So it's like you're doing business. You would borrow the money. ACC would come, you pay them and you give interest.
Yeah.
But you would have maximized your profit. But without any form of even embarrassment for some of these people.
Thank you.
To amplify what they did so the public knows. Like I just asked him, you're investigating certain people within the office of the presidency. We're not even allowed to know the names of those people. The protection that certain people get, even if you're found guilty, you come and you pay back. Depending on your hierarchy and how connected you are, the public would not even get to know that you paid back. I asked him earlier about high-profile cases. He played not to understand what high-profile means.
I think, Amphibian, that is a very, very wrong position, like what you said, on the part of the Anti-Corruption Commission. Because if we are talking about transparency, which is openness, getting people to know, that X, Y, and Z, have been involved in doing X, Y, and Z for them to be held accountable, I think, we need to publish names of people like they are doing for other cases. It should not look like we are protecting, certain areas and then exposing other areas. So even the presidency, you have public officials, that are working there. They are public officials. And if you don't want the public, to know about what you are doing, don't take public office. So once you've taken a public office, you should be open to public scrutiny. So why not should people know that Mr. X, Y, and Z within the office of the presidency, of the president, are being investigated for X, Y, and Z reasons? I think that will help, to enhance the fight against corruption, and it will help to also, enhance the public confidence in the Anti-Corruption Commission in terms of fighting corruption. But if some of these things are happening, that is why some people out there are of the opinion that the Anti-Corruption Commission are protecting, certain people whilst they go after other people. So I think that is something the Commission should not continue to practice as long as it is doing, it has to do with a public official. Now, I'm coming to the issue of out-of-court settlement, because this is something you alluded to, Amphibian. Out-of-court settlement is something that we, as a civil society anti-corruption outfit, is not against, because this is a provision within the UNCAC, the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, to do out-of-court settlement. And if you ratify an international instrument like that, and then you domesticate it, but they say you domesticate international instruments. The reason being, you look at your context, you look at your situation, you look at the depth of corruption and the way people perceive things and the way people go about doing things, and then you domesticate that law to address your own problem. Because whatever action you take in the fight against corruption, especially in Sierra Leone, should serve as a deterrent to others. But you do not take action, at the end of the day, it's like after somebody stealing a whole chicken, and then you tell the person, just come back with the feathers, and then it's settled. What happened? The whole chicken is gone, yeah? And you've deprived our entire family, you know, from eating that chicken.
Well, this case, it seems they tell you to bring the chicken and the feathers and one of its chicks. And now you would have made the profit of keeping the rest of the chicks that the chicken laid.
Yeah, okay. If you put it that way, yeah. It's almost like saying what I'm saying, yeah? That people at the end of the day, what happens to them is not commensurate to what they've done. Not only what they've done, but the impact of what they've done. If you steal money, yeah? Stealing the money is the problem. But that money maybe would have been used to buy drugs, you know, for lactating mothers, you know, people with disability and all of that. The impact of your action should be considered. So, if we are doing out-of-court settlement in terms of fighting corruption, people paying back monies, it should not only stop at that. There are other provisions in the law to ensure that this serves as a deterrent. If it happens somewhere else, fine. But this is Sierra Leone, and we know that people want to see you kill a dog in front of them for let them believe, say, die day. No, so you take action against somebody that will serve as a deterrent. So even when somebody would have paid the money, you have provision for administrative action. But many a times, that one is not fully, you know, used. Somebody would be stopped or could be stopped from holding public office for a number of years. Somebody should go without pay, you know, for a couple of months, you know, and all of that. But sometimes you'll see like 4 people, all of them, they say, involved in corrupt practices. And then they will say, okay, person 1 and 2 will pay the money and then will continue to work. Person 3 and 4 will stay out of public office for 2 years and then come back. Okay, they will say it's because of the magnitude of their involvement in the whole action. But no matter how you look at it, all of them are involved. So they all not only paying the money, should have administrative action following those payments, so that other people will not see corruption as something palatable, you know, for them to be engaging.
Alex, as we try to wrap up this segment, yes, the ACC does present its 2020 reports. Were there issues were there any issues relating to the elections captured in that report?
Our work do not, you know, countenance or border around, you know, issues.
Procurements during elections, I mean.
Issues broadly about elections. If it has to do with corruption, yeah, suspected instance of corruption, that is where we come in. But just mention it, that issues around elections. No, we do not.
I mean,
you know,
procurement issues around elections.
Issues around procurement during elections. If there are those issues that are flagged up, we investigate them. Definitely, they form part of corruption. But it did not form part of our report. But if you would permit me to reference or to respond to quite a few very important things being said. When my brother here was talking, he spoke about the fact that we sometimes investigate. We would investigate 4 people and we would give different punishments. Now, what informs some of those, as we always try to communicate effectively to the public, is that, for example, if a certain matter, now, if people are involved in ensuring that they divert government resources, yeah, and those people that are involved directly in diverting those resources, we deal with evidences in criminal matters. As much as we would want to ensure that anybody that touches public fund, that person probably would want even to be beheaded like other countries, but it has to do with what the law provides. If we do not have the local standard, we cannot act outside within the scope and ambit of the law. So what informs that? If the evidences that we've adduced, they show that these individuals, they bear the responsibility. Yeah, those individuals, the penalties would be, corresponding. The punitive sanctions will be corresponding. But if there are individuals that, let's say it's by way of omission, in criminal matters, we have commission or omission. By way of omission, depending on what the investigation provides, we would refer. Because like I said, when we investigate based on the outcome, it would determine what are the penalties. We'll decide that these individuals, based on the outcomes, they bear the responsibility. They will be banned from holding public office, and they would pay these monies in full with an interest that would impose. And those are the individuals, if they were responsible to ensure that they supervise within this 1 week period, and in between that time they couldn't, for one reason or the other whatsoever, then it is an omission on their part. So they should have some punitive administrative sanctions taken against them. So that is really what informs those things, yeah? But way and beyond that, Fabian was, saying that people pay back monies and their names are not named. I would want to ask you to name, even if it's one person. I'm coming.
In this studio, we ask the questions.
Yes. No. This is something critical that you've asked. And now I'm putting it to you clearly in responding to your question, to just name one person that, as a journalist, you have investigated, have paid money, and you've not published them. Now, I'll call so many of you for you. When we investigated matter that has to do with some staff within the immigration department not so long ago, and the penalties that we took, including recovering in full every penny that those people misappropriated or so, every kobo, including 20% interest rate that we imposed. And we banned them from holding public office as well. We informed the public, we named their names. This matter also that had to do with Abdul Salim Ansari and the other individuals. In fact, initially we had them, declared wanted. Their pictures were everywhere. And at the end of the day, when we made these recoveries, including when they were arraigned in court and they were convicted, all of these information were made public. When we had the matter that had to do with SLRA, Accountant General's Department and other staff, we named every one of those people. So we, as a commission, our work hinges on transparency and accountability. That is why we have one of the most potent public education outfit, that every day, everything that we do, we come out to the public. But you see, there are times we cannot put the cart before the horse. Yeah, to say that if we're investigating this, we should immediately come, and we are guided by what is provided for by law, and we have the permutations that guides our work as a professional-led body, because we investigate with a view that if there are evidences we've been able to adduce enough, that there are penalties, and those penalties are always what we, would ensure that we impose. So those are things basically that borders our work, and those are things that we are always particular about. And for me to also resound, we do not protect people. Yeah, and I would also want to ask Fabian, for you to mention people that there are strong evidences. You are a journalist with considerable year of practice. People that there are evidences pointing out that they've done this and we are protecting. We have no such sacred cows. And that is why, you see,
Alex,
when we had the Mo Ibrahim...
your earlier submissions where I asked you categorically who you were investigating within the office of the president. You sat there conveniently and failed to mention names of who you're investigating.
So that is the thing. I'm saying we do not put the cat before the horse.
Alex and Edward, thank you very much for your time. But it's the same ACC who would tell us they're currently investigating XYZ, and they would come back to tell us, oh, we did not meet a threshold for corruption.
Part of our hundreds of investigation, and if it meets the threshold...
The inconsistency in your pattern is what makes allegations very strong, pointing at your institution.
We're open to scrutiny, but
Thank
there are
you,
no
Alex
such
and Edward, for your
inconsistencies.
time this morning, for being a part of the conversation. Unfortunately, while we would love to keep this conversation ongoing, we have one more segment before we end today's edition. Please stay with us. We're taking a break. We'll come back to get the final conversation in the program.